You're sitting in your seat, sipping a lukewarm cup of coffee, the hum of the jet engines lulling you into a false sense of safety. Then, without warning, a man stands up. His eyes are wild. Two more join him. And in a chilling voice, he declares, "This plane is ours now." It sounds like something from a bad movie. But this was real. And before the day was over, more than 100 innocent lives would be lost, because of the most foolish, ill-planned hijacking in history. It was November 23, 1996. Ethiopian Airlines Flight 961 took off from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, bound for Nairobi, Kenya. On board were 175 souls, businessmen, students, families, children, each with their own small dreams for the day ahead. At the front of the cockpit sat Captain Daniel Araya, a seasoned pilot who had faced bad weather, technical failures, and turbulent skies, but never what was about to unfold. Three men, let's call them Tarek, Bekele, and Ferris, sat in economy class. They weren't tourists. They weren't traveling for business. They had one desperate plan: to escape Ethiopia and start a new life in Australia. But there was a problem. They didn't understand how airplanes worked. Barely 20 minutes into the flight, they stormed the cockpit, shouting and waving threats. The passengers froze. Captain Daniel tried to keep his voice calm as he asked them what they wanted. Their demand? Fly this Boeing 767 to Australia. Daniel explained, patiently at first, that Australia was thousands of kilometers away, far beyond the range of their fuel. He even pointed to the gauges, showing the limited capacity. But Tarek laughed and shoved an in-flight magazine into his face. It says here this plane can fly over 11 hours. Do it. They believed a marketing blurb over the man who had been flying jets for decades. For the next hour, the cockpit became a battle of wills. The hijackers ordered Daniel to leave the African coast and head straight over the open Indian Ocean. They thought the ocean route would keep them away from military radars. Daniel, knowing the plane would never make it, kept secretly steering parallel to the coastline, hoping for an opening to land. Every time the hijackers looked away, he adjusted course a few degrees back toward safety. Meanwhile, in the cabin, passengers whispered in fear. Mothers held their children tighter. An elderly man muttered prayers under his breath. Flight attendants tried to calm people, passing out water as if this was just another bit of turbulence. But the fuel gauges told the truth: time was running out. When the engines finally began to cough, Tarek realized something was wrong. The roaring jets suddenly felt quieter. One engine sputtered and died. Daniel turned to the hijackers. "We're out of fuel. We must land now." Instead of helping, Tarek screamed, "Keep flying," as if sheer stubbornness could keep 200 tons of metal in the air. The second engine failed. The plane began gliding, a silent giant falling toward the sea. Only now did panic spread in the cabin. Passengers yanked life vests from under their seats. But in their fear, many inflated them inside the plane, a fatal mistake. Daniel had seconds to decide. He spotted a strip of turquoise water near the Comoros Islands, shallow enough to attempt a ditching, deep enough to absorb some impact. "Brace! Brace!" Flight attendants shouted. The left wing struck first, ripping away from the fuselage. Water exploded through the windows. In an instant, the front of the aircraft shattered, swallowing seats, luggage, and lives. Those who had inflated their vests inside were trapped against the ceiling by buoyancy, unable to reach the exits. Others fought through broken debris, bleeding, gasping for air. Daniel, battered but alive, clawed his way out of the shattered cockpit into the warm, oil-slicked water. Around him, survivors clung to wreckage. And the bodies of those who hadn't made it floated silently nearby. Rescue boats arrived from the Comoros Islands, pulling the living from the waves. Of the 175 on board, only 50 survived. the hijackers? All three were among the dead. Daniel later said he didn't feel like a hero, just a man trying to do his job in impossible circumstances. But to the survivors, he was the reason they were still breathing. This wasn't just a story about crime. It was about arrogance, the deadly kind. 3 men believed they knew more than the experts, and in doing so, destroyed over 100 lives. And yet, in the middle of this chaos, there were moments of courage, quick thinking, and humanity that remind us why skilled pilots are worth trusting. If this story gripped you, imagine how many more real-life events like this have been buried in history. Subscribe, so you don't miss the next time we uncover the truth behind the headlines, where every decision counts, and every second can mean life or death. Because sometimes, reality is far more shocking than fiction.